All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Big Doug and Carmi Show, your one-stop shop for all things Commanders. But as you know, all off-season, we are dedicating this show to getting you better for your fantasy football teams. That includes me and George. We're learning stuff every day. Me doing a little best ball drafting today with Davis Mattek. Davis, thanks for hopping on with us today.
Very happy to be here, fellas. Excited to chat some ball with Commanders. I mean, one of the teams who I think could be the story of the season. Could be good, could be bad, but at least some positive energy in our nation's capital.
It has been a while since we've had this kind of positivity, and frankly, Jaden Daniels seems to be the darling of the fantasy community this year, which is definitely kind of wild for those of us that have spent our time rooting for this team.
Yeah, look, it's been a long time since the Commanders have had a super fantasy friendly offense. They've had some good running backs, I suppose. A lot of my fantasy memories relate to the Shanahan era. Alfred Morris, Evan Royster.
Yeah.
Remember very closely following the career of Evan Royster. Chris Thompson, one of my favorite players in the history of football. Never really quite worked out for him, but definitely an interesting fantasy team throughout the years.
Got the Chris Thompson jersey up on the wall. J.D. McKissick as well. Those guys were great for some fast points, but no, this year this could be great for them. George, what you got loaded up for us?
Yeah, I'm loading up a fast puppy draft right now on Underdog Fantasy. We'll see. Wait till it actually loads up really quickly. We're waiting on a couple people to go.
Davis, I know you had been through a couple of different places, and now you've got the Patreon. What kind of gave you the courage? I mean, maybe courage is the right word to use, but what kind of made you jump out there and say, you know what, I'll do this thing by myself?
You know, I basically just was taking all these meetings with all these fantasy sites after I left Sports Grid, and some of the offers were appealing, but they all seemed to be a little bit better, basically as part-time, as affiliate type things, and I just kind of decided. The courage definitely is the right word, though. I mean, it's a little bit scary to be out on your own for sure, but yeah, I in combination with the YouTube stuff, I'm pretty hopeful to be able to create my own little lane out here, and it's been pretty fun so far, but a lot of work, a lot more hours at my desk than I was used to.
You've got that Sooners helmet in the background. Are you from out that way, or just a Sooners guy?
So I'm from a small town in Kansas, but my dad and all his brothers grew up in Norman, Oklahoma. So I've just been a Sooners fan for as long as I can remember, which is pretty exciting. In general, has been pretty nice. But college football 25. I mean, can't believe now as a 32-year-old man, college football video games are going to be returning to my life.
Really excited about that.
Hearing about 3 picks. How do you like to start these things out, Davis?
You know, ideally, you'd really like to take one of these great wide receivers in the first round because your options coming back, and particularly in round 3, generally the best pick is a running back. But Bijan is probably going to be the best pick for us unless someone does something silly ahead of us. I mean, Justin Jefferson is my favorite pick in the first round.
Yeah, looking at best available, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua.
Yeah, like we're really hoping that this person gives us Amon-Ra St. Brown there. They're probably not going to, though. So Bijan is likely going to be our. Yeah, they do take St. Brown. So you start out Bijan. You're probably not going to like your 3rd round pick that much, and you're probably not going to like your 4th round pick that much. But Bijan, great player. I think he could easily lead fantasy football in points this year and plays your guys' Commanders in week 17. So sets up a nice little correlation there.
You know what's funny, Doug? That's our first year of Bijan Robinson. We've always done wide receivers early on in the draft, so we'll see how this team ships out.
Yes, yesterday I got in one of these best balls, and I have yet to get the 1-1. Yesterday I got the 1-1. Was very excited to get me a share of McCaffrey, and phone froze, and for whatever reason it picked CD Lamb, which I'm not complaining about getting CD in around, but I had my hopes set up for a little show of McCaffrey, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah. And the 2nd round pick, I mean, we'll feel pretty good about whichever wide receiver we get. Olave, Nico, Debo, Waddle. It's just that, the interesting thing about the second round this year is they all pretty much have warts. There's not really one second round pick you can just be like, yeah, that guy definitely deserves to be there. He's definitely better than all the guys who go behind him. You start to see that Jonathan Taylor goes at 13, Debo goes at 14. Like, people just have their own preferences, which does make second rounds a bit more interesting.
What I find interesting is that Debo Samuel went ahead of Ayuk. What are your thoughts on that?
That's how I have them ranked. So
Okay.
I off of my own rankings. I think Debo is probably a favorite.
We're up right now, by the way.
I think Waddle is who I would go here with in my rankings, but happy to cede the floor. So Debo, I mean, for we just think about what we're trying to do on Underdog. Like, I guess everyone has different goals. I would like to win first place in one of these contests. Been doing this for a long time. That's kind of the name of the game. Can't really think of any player I would rather be. I wake up on Monday morning of week 17 in December. I'm looking at my phone. How many teams did I get to the finals? Do I have any? Who's on my team? Can't really think of a guy I'd much rather have on my team than Debo Samuel, who has a 40-point game, actually has 2 40-point games on his resume, and despite how good Ayuk has been, has more 30-point games than Ayuk while they've been teammates together.
It's interesting, George. This is the third or fourth show in a row now where we've had somebody telling us what this week 17, 16 matchups are going to be.
Absolutely.
I've heard more discourse about that this year than I can recall in the past and I think it's just the more that we do these things and the more we realize like what's important. And to your point, Davis, about trying to win these things, if that's the edges we're finding, really getting down into those end of the season matchups to win these things. I think it's been interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just helpful to think about it like basically like daily fantasy sports. Like, what do you do when you're logging on a daily fantasy sports contest? You select a quarterback, you select one of his wide receivers, maybe 2 of his wide receivers, maybe 1 of his tight ends. And then a lot of times, pretty simple. Oh, if I think that Jaden Daniels throws 2 touchdowns to Terry McLaurin in week 17, the Falcons, they're going to be pretty incentivized to score. It's not going to be ground and pound ball control. They're going to be incentivized to put points on the board, which teams are not always incentivized to do. So the correlation basically changes the input to the projection. It's a little higher level there, but basically you just want players from the game in week 17. They're going to score the most points. It's pretty simple.
Here's a question that kind of popped into my mind. I'm actually in the Scott Fish Bowl tournament as well. And I was looking at Calvin Ridley, and I was kind of considering the Titans altogether. I know it's probably important to have like these high-powered offenses like the 49ers and the Dolphins and so on and so forth. But do you look into teams that have like a negative game script as well? Like, I feel like the Titans are always going to be behind, so you kind of want to invest in them. Well, we're actually on the clock right now. Give me 1 second. So who are you thinking here?
I have Dell here in my rankings. I think it's Dell, Diggs, Flowers, Pittman. It doesn't feel great to not click Henry, but I think structurally we just really need a wide receiver.
I agree. So finishing off that question, do you look at poor teams as a team, getting involved in shootouts and so on and so forth? Is that something you consider as well?
Absolutely. I mean, now you can get burnt by this because like last year, great example, week 17, the New York Football Jets and the Cleveland Browns played in week 17 in December. They're up against, that awful stadium in Ohio is right next to a lake. It's windy. It's cold. Guess what happened in that game? 37 points for the Cleveland Browns, 20 points for the Jets. Breece Hall had a huge score. Garrett Wilson was fine, but all the Browns guys, I don't remember which guy. One Browns guy had 11 receptions in that game. I think it was Njoku.
Yeah,
basically,
sure. Yeah.
You can outsmart yourself a little bit. I mean, the tiebreaker I kind of do is I just really like the week 17 dome games. So, for example, the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings, I've got a lot of those guys, Reed, Dobbs, Aaron Jones, Dontavian Wicks, even, the quarterbacks. Like, that is a game to me that's set up to potentially be the highest total when we get to week 17. That game could have a 53.5 point total.
Davis, how do you rank those Green Bay Packer wide receivers? I feel like going into fantasy this year, that's one of the more difficult ones to kind of predict, right? Like Romeo Dubes, we have Watson as well, Jaden Reed. I feel like Jaden Reed's the most versatile. Watson's the most volatile. Dubes is the one that gets the most receptions. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I actually wonder if Wicks is the one that is most versatile. He played at this awful team, the Virginia Cavaliers, when he was in college.
Yeah.
And I wonder, not even I wonder, I'm projecting Wicks to take kind of the largest step up as a player this year. And I wonder if Reed, kind of as the slot gadget guy, actually is maybe being a smidgen overdrafted. It's definitely something that I'm pondering. I'm good with we could take McLaurin here. We could take we could do Scary Terry. We could do a little bit of Commanders.
Let's do it.
I think he's a great pick. He correlates with our guy Bijan Robinson, sets us up to be able to take Jaden Daniels. I think we could pander to the crowd here a little bit.
I love it.
No problem there. How do you rank? We were talking about this the other day because George had the opportunity for, I think it was Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs in the Scott Fish Bowl. What are we to make of Stephon Diggs in the offense? Like, I'm not necessarily sure he's washed, but again, it's one of these where the room's pretty full and they've got a decent tight end, I guess. And I mean, there's a lot of options in Houston. What do you make of what Diggs might be down there?
You know, I think that at this stage of Stephon Diggs' career, I wonder if the role that he's going to have in this Texans offense is maybe a little bit outsized to his ability. I mean, I think pretty clearly he was like, this role in Buffalo, it's not what I want. I want the ball to be thrown to me more. You spend the first round pick on Kincaid. And he also is approaching the age where we start to worry, well, maybe the lack of production. I mean, he did not have any 100-yard games after week 6 last season. I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm wondering if this is kind of like, I think Tyler Lockett is a good example. Tyler Lockett was not bad last season for the Seahawks, but he finishes the wide receiver 31 instead of the wide receiver 8 like he had the year before. The fact is he just plays with two guys who are in their athletic primes. You know, he plays with Tank Dell and particularly with Nico Collins, who I think is probably going to take a pretty large step as a player this year. So I have Diggs lower than his ADP in my rankings. I have Dell higher than his ADP in my rankings. Ridley, you want to talk about a guy who I think might be past it. Ridley is a guy that I don't really take at all.
Really?
That's got him in my draft. All right, we'll see how that goes, though. I guess one question that I'm seeing a lot in the community as well is the Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers. Rashee Rice, man, we know how good he was last year, stepped on the field, took the league by storm. A lot of controversy kind of floating around him right now. Actually, we're on the clock, so we'll come back to that. What are your thoughts here?
I would love to take one of these Chiefs wide receivers here.
Okay.
Worthy. I have Worthy as the wide receiver 29 in my rankings. I think it's pretty simple.
Pull it.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy, fastest player in the history of the NFL Combine, playing with Patrick Mahomes. I think fantasy football can be hard, but it doesn't always have to be, and I think that is pretty simple right there.
He's floating around right now in the Scott Fish Bowl, and I'm hoping that it comes back around for me right now. Like, I was looking at him in the previous turn. It was him and Rashee Rice, and I was like, man, should I take Rashee Rice? I know about the suspension. I know 6 games he might be gone for a little while. I ended up passing on both, taking Calvin Ridley, so we'll see if that's going to bite me in my butt. And then basically, hopefully Xavier Worthy's still around later on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I took Worthy at the 9-10 turn. I had the first overall pick, and I took Mahomes at the first overall pick. Of course, I know Josh Allen a little bit better for the format, but I'm a Chiefs guy, so I took Mahomes at the first overall pick. And Worthy, actually, if I can influence your selection, I think he's going to do kick returns, at least some of them. I don't think he's going to do 100%. All of them.
Yeah, I passed on him too, and I was worried about that.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, here's a super sleeper for those of you playing any sort of return yardage things. They might have Louis Rees-Zamet do it, the New Zealand rugby player.
Right.
If he makes the roster, I wonder if that is one of the things that they might have him doing. But and Worthy, I mean, there are some warts definitely in his college football profile, but I think it's pretty simple. Yeah. I think this is either a David Montgomery or Hopkins or McConkey. I will leave it up to you guys. Well, Kenneth Walker, good pick too.
What do you guys think?
I think we do Hopkins.
Yeah, I agree. So I got David Montgomery in my Scott Fish Bowl league as well. What were we saying? We were just talking about what receiver? The Kansas City receivers that we were talking about?
Xavier Worthy.
Yeah,
I passed on Xavier Worthy and took Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not sure why I did that, but I kind of like Ezekiel in the red zone this year. They don't really have a
Yeah,
ton going at running back.
for the Cowboys. Worthy also has a hamstring issue as well. I don't know if you guys saw that, or he had a tweak over the summer. I think
he was.
Where does Worthy fit with Hollywood Brown in tow? Also, think he's in line for a big year? Or no.
I think my take on the Chiefs has been they realized they flew a bit too close to the sun with how bad the wide receivers were last year, and they want to revert to the 2018, 2019 style where they're the most aggressive. I mean, those 2 years, they were the most aggressive downfield passing offense in the NFL. I think they would prefer to do that. And I think signing Hollywood Brown, drafting Worthy, ahead of his teammate, A.D. Mitchell, ahead of Keon Coleman, ahead of McConkey. I think all of that signals pretty clearly. They feel good about what Rashee Rice can do. They think they can get one more year out of Travis Kelce's, lower body, basically. And they needed to start dialing it up. Like Hardman, Sky Moore, all these guys, they tried to replace the Tyreek production. None of them could do it. And I think we probably will see them. This is the tagline for Xavier Worthy, McCole Hardman, but if he was good. If McCole Hardman was a good football player, I kind of think that's the hope.
He catch the ball? Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Poor Mecole.
So we went wide receiver heavy, which I do not mind whatsoever. Coming around, we're about 3 picks away. Jaden Daniels still on the board. Kyler Murray still on the board. CJ Stroud is still on the board. Are we looking at quarterback here, or are we looking at coming up running back?
This is kind of what I tell people is like you get to round 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this is why you start wide receiver heavy, because basically the best pick on the board for the next 5 rounds is going to be a running back. The guy you're going to be like, oh, it's the 10th round and Chase Brown is there, or 10th round and Brian Robinson's there. Like, feels pretty easy to just take that guy and get my 13.5 points a week.
Exactly. So here we go. We're up. What are you thinking?
I think we can take any of these running backs. I think we try and take Jaden Daniels on this team. Or any running back or Evan Ingram.
So which one do you want to do? It doesn't matter to me.
I think we do Ramondre here. He's a good fit. It gives us a backdoor quarterback that we can select if we need to with Drake May. I got to say, guys, the Commanders did cost me some money. NFL draft betting. I kept betting Drake May at 2 as the odds changed. I really didn't think Jaden Daniels was going to go 2. The Commanders were very tight-lipped.
They were.
I had May as my second quarterback in the draft, which is not to say I think Daniels is a bad pick. I totally get why they did it. I think it's defensible. But that did smart a little bit because I was a big Drake May guy, and I really thought he was going to go 2.
You're not the only one. I mean, we do 3 shows a week. So whatever the number may be before the draft, and I would guess that 70% thought Drake May was the second best quarterback.
I agree, Doug.
And then I think the other 30% just thought Jaden Daniels is the fit for Kingsbury and what they want to do. And then it didn't have nearly as much to do with they actually thought he was better than Drake May at the time. So don't feel bad in your assumptions there, Davis, because I think a lot of people thought the way you did.
Yeah, and again, it's not to say that I think Jaden Daniels is bad or anything like that. It's definitely not true. Is Brock Bowers still there, or did he get picked? I think we go Bowers here, and then this will make this a 2 quarterback and maybe a 3 tight end or 3 quarterback team.
Brock Bowers here, quarterback coming around.
Yeah. I think that sets us up. I think that sets us up pretty strong. We just gotta hope that no one is watching this and wants to take our commander quarterback away from us.
It's funny because I feel like Jaden Daniels went by a lot like sooner in other leagues, right, Doug? I feel like he went by like 3rd, 4th round in other iterations of this.
Either that or we were taking quarterback higher than we needed to. This is definitely the lowest I think we've waited to take a quarterback.
Absolutely.
Sure. But it shows that you can.
Yeah.
Right. Like I do like the way this lineup is filling out simply because we waited.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that some of the early quarterbacks, like I really like taking Lamar. I really like taking Mahomes, and I think it's an interesting way to play this year to just do one of the really high scoring quarterbacks and then kind of wait to the end. I think Bo Nix in the very last round pretty sure he's going to start 17 games if he's healthy. I don't think he's going to be that great. Actually, here's a fun little bit of trivia: more rushing touchdowns in college than Jaden Daniels for Bo Nix. You would win. You would win a bar bet with that one.
Absolutely, I didn't even know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, not very many people would know that one. So you get a little bit of rushing there. I think our boy did just go, which is pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. Do we have a Packers wide receiver?
I don't believe so.
No, we can take Love and then set up Dobbs or Wicks though, which I think.
What are the quarterbacks that are left, Joey?
There's some good ones on there. Purdy's up there. Lawrence is up there.
Yeah. Tua is still there. We have Waddle.
Yeah. We'll definitely be able to wait one round on Tua. We would not need to take him here. We could take. We can do another commander. We could do Brian Robinson Jr. here.
We don't have to go full commander if you don't. Whatever you think's best.
No, I like Brian Robinson Jr.
Okay.
I think that running quarterbacks add yards per carry to their guys historically.
They do.
And Austin Eckler is 29 years old, coming off the ankle injury. I think the Commanders have high hopes for him. Like I think they maybe got a big steal getting him on less guaranteed money than Antonio Gibson got leaving the team. Yeah. But 29-year-old running backs, can go south pretty quick. Like Brian Robinson Jr. could be in a 17 touch per game role pretty easily.
Well, I think when I think of Eckler now and his comments about wanting less carries, which didn't offend me nearly as much as it did the guy from New York, Tiki Barber, but he makes me think of a former Redskin and Chris Thompson, or J.D. McKissick. That may be their role now. And if he catches 5, 6, 7 passes a game out of that kind of third down back kind of role, there's also still an interesting, that's an interesting play in fantasy too. I think it will be interesting. One, George and I talk about this all the time. Nobody really knows what the offense is going to look like. You can assume because it's Kingsbury, but with Anthony Lynn there and Brian Johnson in there, it'll be interesting to see how the backs are used. The whole offense as a whole, frankly.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like my imagination for what the offense is going to be, I think it's going to look a lot like what it did in Kyler's rookie year, which wasn't that fun, to be honest. Like it was a lot of horizontal stuff. I think what you would be hoping is that Daniels actually is already probably a better deep passer than Kyler was, because that was really what he did so well at LSU. Yeah. I think we don't have. I think we could take Tua here. I think we can do Tua here and feel good about that. Set him up with Waddle. The concern I would have is that they don't have this wide receiver skill set to match. You're probably hoping that Dotson is that. McLaurin is fine down the field, but I would have loved, if they would have gotten A.D. Mitchell. That guy, it would have been pretty strong. Leggett went really early, so that wasn't necessarily as much of an option, but I'm a little worried about that, about Daniels without a really good guy, 20, 30 yards down the field.
Kind of pivoting a little bit, I just saw Gus Edwards and Blake Corum come off the board. I'm curious what your thoughts on them and their projection for this year.
Edwards is just a real. I think the answer is the Chargers don't even know. They don't know what's going to happen there, because it's all kind of hinges on how healthy and available is J.K. Dobbins. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins is not even a year removed from an Achilles tear and was coming off an ACL tear before that and an ACL tear before that. But both Edwards and Dobbins played with Greg Roman for their entire NFL careers before, and that's why they're there. The guy I like the most in that backfield is Vidal, but he's just the total mystery box. We have like one confirmation from the Athletic beat writer that he's even on the team, that he's even part of the rotation at all. They have Isaiah Spiller, they have Jarrett Patterson, like they have a bunch of camp bodies, and it seems like he's closer to the camp bodies. And we do know they are going to run a lot. It feels, where I do like Blake Corum quite a bit. I think Blake Corum is basically the best kind of handcuff running back that there is in fantasy football this year.
I can see that.
Does the fact that the Browns didn't really do anything running back wise in the offseason does that make you feel like Dayfield, Nick Chubb will be back and ready to go more early, or does that
Makes me feel like they're hoping. Makes me feel like there's a lot of hope there because it's July 12th and Chubb is not even running yet. He's not put pads on yet, so feels like a lot of sort of wish casting there by them. I mean, Donta Foreman, he's not he doesn't get a ton of respect, but he basically fills in whatever team he's on and plays fine. I mean, he's not the greatest runner. Guy's not Jamal Charles, but he's basically fine. I think you kind of have a three-way timeshare there. Nyheim Hines, Jerome Ford. Chase Brown is my favorite pick here for sure after Wicks goes.
I was curious about that. I believe Zach Moss is also in Cincinnati, correct?
Yeah, he is. I mean, basically, I just think Chase Brown is way better pass catcher, not very good at pass protection. Basically, I think he got 8 snaps with Joe Burrow last season and was not asked or got 8 pass protection snaps total with Joe Burrow last year, and they basically just said you can't do it. You got to get better at it. But Zach Taylor was complimentary about his pass catching his pass blocking earlier in minicamp, and Zach Moss he had 3 really good games last year, and then that's kind of what we remember. You don't remember in the back half of the season, he was averaging like 3.5 yards per carry. He had 5 drops on 35 targets. Like really is just not a pass catching player at all.
Trying to watch for some trends. We're starting to see some wide receivers come off the board, a little running back run in that round, a couple quarterbacks coming off right now.
Yeah, you get a lot of, rounds 10 and 11, people are kind of shoring up there. And I like all those guys, like literally every guy from Javonte to Rico Dowdle. I'm like, yeah, these are all good picks. They're much better than the wide receivers that go around them. We need another quarterback and we need another tight end. What can I see our wide receiver room real quick? I need to think about what we have at
Waddle, Dell, McLaurin, Worthy.
We can set up Levis here as one of our later round picks. We can take a lot of tight ends available. We probably need a wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, probably need a wide receiver. Oh, I think Polk? We should take Polk here.
Yeah, people are loving Polk this year.
Yeah, I really like Jalen Polk. I like all the University of Washington wide receivers. I think another bar bet you would win would be that the third one drafted out of all of them, Jalen McMillan, actually had the most. I don't remember exact. He had the most fantasy points if you calculate it that way, just as a way to show the production. He had the most fantasy points of any of the Washington wide receivers in 2022, and then he injured his leg and was only running about 10 routes per game for 3 games when he came back from injury last season. But McMillan a year ago was viewed as the best of Polk, Roma Dunze, and McMillan. He kind of was the highest pedigree one.
So quick question. We just see Nick Chubb come off the board, TJ Hawkinson come off the board as well. Both of those are high-profile names coming off of major injuries. TJ Hawkinson, coming into 2023 was right behind Kelsey and, Kittle and so on and so forth. He's coming off an ACL. Do you still take him in best ball and redraft leagues, considering he might be going to miss a couple games start off the year? What are your thoughts on that?
I like Hawkinson in this format because you can take 3 tight ends and feel like, if Hawkinson comes back in week 8, Noah Fant and Hunter Henry will kind of get me across the line. I have a harder and I'm not really taking Chubb at all. It's just like a running back with, Chubb had that catastrophic knee injury in college as well.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit harder for me to get there. But in redraft, in managed leagues, your 12-team league with your buddies, much harder for me to take Hawkinson because when I get to week 4, he's going to be the first guy I want to cut. I gotta pick up this new running back. He's gonna be the first guy that you want to cut, just like 100% of the time. This is a tricky kind of spot we are in here. I think we can probably just take let's take Vidal actually, and let's just be done at running back. We can take 5 running backs right there, running back 49, Kamani Vidal, and just say, we're good with 5. We got Bijan and Ramondre anchoring the room.
Davis, credit to you, man. You're the most, out of all the guests that we've had on our show for our best ball, you're the most attuned to the board. I appreciate that. Thank you. You're on top of it. I was fading out looking somewhere else. So perfect. Thank you.
Look, I do a lot of these. I'm in the rooms every day on Underdog, where we're doing the streams over on my YouTube channel. So we are locked in, man.
I love it, dude. Thank you.
So this team, we probably want to take 3 quarterbacks is kind of the way I think about it.
Okay.
So I think
Stafford, Watson.
I think a lot of the time I really just want to have the guys with their wide receivers. So I think we probably plan on taking Levis and May.
Okay.
So we take one more tight end and then 2 more quarterbacks, 1 more tight end, and then the rest can be wide receivers. We got no real bye. Well, we could maybe take another running back in round 18 because we have Bijan and Brown out in week 12 and Ramondre and Brian Robinson out in week 14. That's a real annoying thing, by the way, the week 14 bye weeks. A lot of my favorite players share week 14 and week 6 bye weeks. It's a bit obnoxious.
It is.
All right. So what'd you say? Will Levis here?
I think we could probably wait 1 more round. Let's take Troy Franklin at wide receiver, and that'll just give us another option at quarterback. Gives us Bo Nix, who we can maybe take if we need to. But
I think he's gone. Is he or not? I searched him.
I must have snagged him.
Yeah, someone must have snagged. Oh, there he is.
There we go. Yeah, we got him. So we can take Franklin there. Yeah. I think there probably is not going to be a Puka Nacua this year. A day 3 rookie who has a really tremendous season. If I had to order them in terms of probability, I think I'd probably say Troy Franklin is the top. He was the first pick of the 4th round, played in college with Bo Nix, has basically no competition in the wide receiver room. It's maybe the worst wide receiver room in football. Actually, Troy Franklin could have been the deep guy that the Commanders needed with Jane Daniels. That would have been a nice fit.
I've got a ton of Troy Franklin stock. I'm with you. I think he's in for big things this year. And you're right. There's no reason that Bo Nix won't end up being the starting quarterback in Denver. They've got experience. He's explosive. I think things line up perfectly for him out in as perfectly as it can be in Denver, if you will.
Yeah, that's true. I am probably a little bit higher on the Broncos. Not in the sense that I think they are going to win 10 games or anything, but Sean Payton, a pretty good coach, pretty good play caller. I think the offense will be a good bit more functional kind of than people are imagining. I think we should probably take a tight end here. Henry, Fant, Sinnott, Chigakonkwo would line up with our quarterback. I will defer to you guys on the tight end. I don't really care. I think they're all kind of about the same here.
What are you thinking, Doug?
Whatever you end up picking, George, is fine. I was just going to ask about Isaiah Likely in that 12 personnel that they probably will run a lot. What do you think about Likely and his value as a tight end, particularly this late? If they're going to end up doing a lot of that, I think of the offensive coordinator and I think of what they did in Georgia, and I think of those 2 tight ends that they have now. What does the offense look like, do you think?
They played the most 11 personnel of any year of Lamar's career last year. In that first year with Monken, it was I believe it was double the amount of 11 personnel of any of the other years that he's been there. And I think the reason why you do it actually is evidenced in the game that they had their worst game as a coaching staff, the AFC Conference Championship game, where they just were kind of lost. They didn't know what to do. Lamar just needs more reps in 11 personnel. I personally don't doubt Lamar's ability. I think he's probably the 4th or 5th best quarterback in the NFL. But if you just take an example of the amount of times Lamar has dropped back in college in NFL, and then compare that to Mahomes or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow, those guys have twice the amount of dropbacks as he has, just because it's kind of been a low volume thing. So I think Likely will probably play, he'll play the most of any second tight end in the NFL, but it's still probably more 40% of the snaps, right. 35% of the snaps, something like that. I do like him, because obviously he's got just like a super high ceiling. We've seen it when Andrews doesn't play, if Andrews gets injured, like he's kind of like a handcuff tight end, I suppose, and a pretty good one.
You're absolutely out on Bateman, correct? I feel like he's like every single year we
Can't
keep hearing
do
about Rashad. It's Rashad Bateman's breakout year, but it never actually happens. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I look, not to say I'll never take him when I have Lamar, just because I like to have Lamar's teammates with him. But yeah, the idea that there's something left to be found in Bateman's game, I think is probably false. I think we take Levis here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right.
Yeah, all right, we set that up. Yeah, I mean, I actually really like Devontae Walker, who they selected in the, I can't remember if it was the 4th or 5th round out of North Carolina, but
yeah,
another weird college, Kent State, then gets suspended for the first 4 games, can't practice with the team, comes back and is immediately pretty good with Drake May at North Carolina. I think, and I mean, no one wants to admit this, but Nelson Aguilar is just like, he's a fine NFL wide receiver. He's going to be out there. He's going to play a bunch with Flowers and with Walker, I think. The way we have this set up, we can just take Drake May or Bo Nix. I mean, I think Drake May definitely has the better ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Nix
do you think he'll play? Like, I think Nix probably starts day one. I worry that May, and I know we don't have to worry about fantasy draft and best ball for week 1, but just wonder when May gets the call.
I mean, I'm hoping against hope that the vibes are not as bad in New England as it sounds. The vibes seem low for the New England Patriots. People are worried about the offensive line. Sounds like the ownership, Bob Kraft, sounds like he just really likes Jacoby Brissett, just like is into him as a dude, likes to watch him play, whatever. But I just, Jaden Daniels should start week 1. Caleb Williams should start week 1. Bo Nix should start week 1. It would be crazy to me, the idea of like a redshirt year for Drake May. I think it would just be a total misuse of resources, really, at a team level.
No, I agree, but
yeah, we're up.
Yeah, I mean, Drake May goes. I think we take Nix. I think we do need, when I take Tua, I really like to have 3 quarterbacks. Just because his, the down weeks are going to be really bad. It's going to be 198 yards and 1 touchdown, and it could be because that was a big A-chain week. Could be because they had to play in cold weather in Buffalo in December, and they just, I'm not really looking to be loaded up on the Dolphins in those cold weather games, but you definitely want them. You definitely want your Dolphins teams for October for sure, no doubt about that.
How big is the fall off from A-Chain and Mostert, in your opinion?
From A-Chain to Mostert, or saying
just in general, I guess, right? I feel like Mostert, are you into him in fantasy football this year? I know he had 21 touchdowns last year. Obviously, there'll be a regression. I mean, are you expecting 10 touchdowns total from him? What are your thoughts on Mostert altogether?
I believe that Devin A-Chain is probably the best guy to take in fantasy football this year. I think that altogether, yeah. Where he goes, he reminds me of Chris Johnson from year 1 to year 2, where Johnson was kind of a bit player. He shared that backfield with Lendale White, and then in year 2, it was like 2,400 scrimmage yards, 21 touchdowns. No one can stop him. I think we probably take a wide receiver here. Greg Dortch is my favorite 18th round wide receiver pick. I am a big fan of the Purdue product.
He did pretty well last year.
Yeah, he's he's in his career, he's not played a ton. He's heading into year 4, but in games where he's ran over 70% of the routes for the Cardinals, he averages 14.1 PPR points per game. So pretty good when he's out there.
Very good.
Pretty good team, I think. We drafted a winner.
Once this thing's over, we'll flip to the grid and take a look at it. Davis, tell us what you got going on the YouTube channel and what days the folks can find you.
Yeah, I stream on Tuesday afternoons from noon to 4 p.m. Central Time. We'll have a bunch of guests on. Some you'll know, some you won't know from the fantasy football space. We'll do Best Ball Mania 5 drafts, puppy drafts, kind of whatever is going on Underdog, and then from Thursday morning at 9 p.m. to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And I think Underdog is about to launch a new best ball thing, a new sport And if I'm right about that, then I will be doing those on Mondays around noon.
Interesting.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our final board.
Oh, brutal. Been there. The old app. Yeah. Sometimes it does that.
Yeah, it takes a while to pop up.
What guesstimate, of course, how many of these will you end up doing by the time we get to the end of best ball season?
700 probably. If I
Wow.
had to put a number on it. Yeah, you live it, you breathe it. Kind of the way I think about it. I'm doing all the work anyways. Like I'm doing these rankings, I'm reading all these beat reports, I'm in the Athletic. Like you gotta monetize that knowledge while you have it. And
absolutely.
I think these games are beatable right now. I think a lot of people playing, they're having some fun. They, they're which is like, I think fantasy football should be fun. So I would never tell you have to approach things in the super analytical, like use all these tools way. But I think I can make money at this. So I gotta press the edge while it exists.
Absolutely.
Is this your favorite way to play?
Yeah. And look, I'm in a 12-team league with my buddies from high school that we've done for 15 years, actually longer than that. I do the high stakes stuff on the FFPC, $1 million first, all that. But to me, does not really get any better than this. Like I love these.
It's fun. So let's take a look at the board. Is there any round you think we may have misjudged it or made a bad mistake? Or are you happy with something that we've taken? Let's take a look at where we're sitting right here.
I mean, maybe I think I do really like to get Lamar and Andrews or Mahomes and Kelsey, but the way this one fell out, I actually think Terry probably went well. What did we do in the 8th round? I think I thought we were a little bit closer to the turn than we were. Yeah, I think I probably feel a little bit better about this team if we go Daniels and then come back around and see what's there.
Yeah,
because I really like Jaden Daniels for fantasy, but
Daniels,
Bowers I love too.
Where did we end up missing Daniels at?
He went at whole turn, 8-9 turn.
Yeah. So that's right about where he goes on average. So it really was we were just hoping that basically because we had McLaurin, that meant that the guys in between us were not as incentivized to take him.
Got it. It turned out pretty good. Pretty interesting team. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Davis, we appreciate you, buddy. This was great.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me, fellas. Yeah, make sure to check out patreon.com/Davis Mattek, youtube.com/Davis_Mattek. And thanks for having me, fellas. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. It was a blast. We'll see you again sometime.
Take it easy.